Alright guys, hey, how's it going? Doing kind of an unboxing video today. We picked up a fish finder for my brother's kayak. It's his birthday, so we're kind of doing this as his kind of gift to himself. Who doesn't love a good gift to himself? What we got is the Hummingbird, the PIRANHAMAX 197c DI. This is a downward imaging and sonar fish finder, depth finder, temperature finder, so forth, so on. And we really think it's going to be great. So let's go ahead and get this opened up. I'll show you what comes with it. And I'll end up tagging this together later on with how we intend to install this. So let's have a look. What I've done is I've taken the top layer of the plastic off of here. It's pretty much just open plastic. So it's got a decorative piece of cardboard. You know, just got the name, the title, and all that. This is the CPU unit. This has got the display protective plastic on it, so we'll leave that on there to protect the screen until we get this thing set up. So that comes in there as well. We've got an operations manual, which probably has some interesting technical information, probably in about 7 or 8 different languages, probably plus some installation stuff, probably plus some whatever. So we've got that. That's useful. Probably won't ever read it. Got some mounting hardware, some screws, some pieces of plastic. I'll have to look into that a little bit better to figure out exactly what these do, but you'll see that here later on. This looks like mounting hardware for the transducer. So the other stuff is probably for the display. So this is the transducer. It's a hinge. It's got some locking pieces, some thread nuts, a bunch of other things like that. So there's that. 2 bags of hardware. This is the transducer itself. You can see where the hardware kind of fits into that piece with that hole and that little segment there. That's kind of where all that attaches to. And on that, I'm going to set this down. We've got a connection that's probably for the battery, or I don't know, manual. That's what manuals are for. We've got one with a ground and a power. And then that's, you know, the one cable to the transducer here. And finally, but not least, is the hinge for the transducer mount. This allows you to raise it and lower it based on that. We've got please don't return this. Transducer exchange paperwork, so if something goes wrong with that, I suppose that's what this is for. It's important to keep all these papers together. Then limited warranty paperwork. So that's what comes in the box. It's empty now, you know, just the back packaging. And from here we'll get it installed, you know, work together with the battery that we're going to use, and kind of give an overlay on how we're going to mount this stuff. Day 2 on the fish finder, depth finder setup. Thing we didn't know on day 1 is, and this is something you should all know, transducers need to be firmly attached to your boat so that the signal going out and the signal going back have a really nice solid reference point with which to work with. Something I didn't know, never used one before. So what I've done is back here, as you can see it behind me, is I've attached the transducer mount that comes with the kit with the Hummingbird. I've siliconed it in place. These are the screws that come with it. I've got everything else down there in a bucket. I'm going to take this out and give it another go. Because I'm not on my boat, I'm on my brother's boat, I don't have my camera mount, so this is going to be kind of an awkward deal. There'll be a lot of starting and stopping, but I'm in kind of a calm place where the foliage over here, around here behind me, has me protected from the breeze that's going out there on that open water. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry off my hands. I'm going to assemble all the parts for the depth finder, and then we'll do kind of a manual test with the paddle, and then we'll start in on the digital test with the electronics, and we'll give it a go from there. Brought everything out today in a 5-gallon bucket, just because this isn't my stuff. It belongs to my brother. He's paid a lot of money for it. I don't want to say a lot of money, but he's paid money for it, and I want to take care of it. and I don't want to splash any water up on anything, so I put it in a 5-gallon bucket, so it's got these tall walls, and you know, that's kind of what I'm working out of now. So this is what we're reading. I mean, the mount is firmly attached to the boat, and it shouldn't be bouncing around like that because we're not differentiating every second or every half second between a foot, so I'm not really sure what's going on yet. I'm going to play around with the settings and maybe change positions and see if I can get it to check any deeper. Alright, so this is probably turning out to be the longest video I've ever made. This is take 3. The other day, the last part of this video when I was out, I got rained on, and I didn't have the battery in a Drhotbox, as you saw. So I didn't feel like getting electrocuted, ruining the battery, shorting out the electronics, anything like that, because I don't know and wasn't going to take any risks. So I'm headed back out to the water, and hopefully this will be the last day that I'm working on this project. A little side note, the thing that we've done is right here, what this came with was a 2-inch, 1/4-inch diameter bolt with a 20-thread pattern, and it had a hex nut fitting for the inside, so that instead of using like a screwdriver, we used a hex nut. And it required using an actual, you know, hex wrench to get this on and off, which is annoying as balls. So what I've done is I've gotten a longer bolt with a wing nut, and then I've attached a regular hex-shaped nut underneath the head there, so that when this pulls in, it locks in place, and then I can do this wing nut one-handed to lock the transducer in place or loosen it up, so that I can rotate the transducer and lift it up and then lock this back into place. Pretty much one-handed, so that I can do that on the water. I'll need to solder some pieces together, but I can do this on the water one-handed and get this out of the way. After a bit of frustration this morning, got it all working out, showing a different temperature reading from yesterday, and a different depth from last time. I was reading about 8 feet deep at this place, so I'm going to check the angle of my transducer and try back. Here's some feature on the screen. I'm kind of near a shoreline with a bunch of branches and things. I'm kind of sitting still now, so I guess all that stuff's kind of behind me. I'm floating and rotating, just kind of trying the sky out. So I'm back up on a spot that I know is pretty shallow. It's a point that comes out along kind of that tree line area I've been boating along. I've got my paddle in the water over here. You can see that it's not very deep, and so that's kind of reflecting over here in what I'm showing for the depth finder. Alright, this is the sonar screen. I really don't know much of anything about reading the sonar. It's a completely different thing for me. But what I'm guessing is we've got this red line here, which is going to be our good solid bottom. And I'm going to guess that the yellows, the blues, and the greens are all going to be vegetable matter, where these red things, like this one here, are going to be spots of higher density amongst all of this other stuff. I guess I might have to go back and look and read that up and find out if that's how that really works. But this is the sonar screen. This is on auto depth scaling, so with this this particular model allows you to change the depth scaling. So if I wanted to, I could change to 30, up to like 360 feet or maybe meters, and it would scale this image out or down based on that setting. So if I'm fishing real deep and don't want to see, you know, the full depth spectrum of what I've got there, I can just set it for the top bit, or I can go the full depth. Capture this before it phases off my screen. Check it out. Little bastard does fish recognition. So some big ones, small one, medium-sized one, gives it depth. And what I like is it helps teach you. It kind of corresponds those fish markers with big blurs on the radar. So I don't know if I can get my downward imaging to do this, but the sonar screen does this. Alright guys, I'm thinking about heading back to shore. I think that's been a pretty successful test out on the fish finder. So just to recap this, the PIRANHAMAX 197 CDI, that's for downward imaging. It has a sonar, it reads the temperature, you can change the depth settings and the sensitivities and all sorts of fun stuff. And it's already been incredibly helpful for me today. I've been able to determine that fish are not exactly schooling. They might be schooling. They seem to be marking pretty close together. Maintaining between 3 and 6 feet, you know, kind of all sorts of different sizes. And it looks like this little reservoir system I'm in probably only gets to about maybe 12, maybe 15 feet deep max. I'm not going to go all the way out into what I suspect is going to be the deepest area to find out, but I think this is great. I think we retailed this fish finder at about $150, $160. Man, that light is terrible. Sorry about that. So it's not an incredibly difficult price. You gotta remember to factor in that you're gonna have to get, you know, a dry box, a battery, work on figuring out how exactly you want to mount it. You know, I think we're gonna end up putting the monitor in the forward-facing mount holder. You know, that's got like the Scotty type attachment to it. Just gotta get it an adapter for that. But I recommend this fish finder. I really do. You know, we had some hiccups getting it to work, figuring out what we needed to do to get things going. But if you watch this video and kind of learn from our mistakes and kind of add on to that, then you should have a really good fish finding, depth finding, temperature finding, fish suspension finding tool, as long as you take care of it.